Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. It is Sunday, December 1st. I hope everybody is doing well. I'm on a little earlier today because I have ice time at from 6 to 7 with my synchro team. So, well, I'm not on a synchro team, but it's a long story. But I'm going to go get on the ice. So I didn't want to start at 4 and then rush. So I moved it earlier. I hope everybody's okay. It's that's how it is. Tiffany, I don't know if you're here. I've got you for 2 payments. And hi, Lexi, how are you? So I'm a little early. Hopefully Tiffany realizes that I'm early. I know sometimes when I scan emails and I didn't put a hey, change of time. Maybe I'll email her. How are you, Lexi? What's going on with you? Well, if you want to ask any general questions now, it might just be you and me because we're early. You read the email. Me, I'm good. So this weekend, my car lease is up in February. But seeing as we have all of these threats of tariffs, I just went and turned it in early this weekend and got a new one because I thought I don't want to deal with any of the increased prices that they want to jack up. So I did that this weekend. And we went and saw Wicked on Thanksgiving morning because we just do a small Thanksgiving here with my husband and kids. My mom comes up for Christmas and New Year's. So we went and saw Wicked, which is incredible. And my friend John, he owns a costume building shop in the city. And I have so much, every time I see something new and I see incredible costumes, I'm just I think I'm more in love with costumes than I ever have been, but more so just because they how much they bring a character to the life, and also just the incredible amount of work that it takes to make those costumes come to life. And there was just so much wardrobe on that set because there's so many characters, and there's the background people, and then there's the main characters, and then how many costumes each one of them needed. And it was it's a really great movie. So if you haven't seen it, and it ends, so it's a 2-part, and it ends, if you've seen the Broadway show, because I know you're up here in the East Coast, but if you've seen it, the first, before they go into intermission, it ends with, now I can't even think of the song, but that's where the movie ends, is basically where you would go into intermission with the play. And then I'm going ice skating tonight. And yesterday we went to the Botanical Center in New York City. Or the New York Botanical Center, they have a little train show with lights and stuff every year. But this year, and I don't know if they've done it in the past, but they had a Nightmare Before Christmas, little special setup where you walk through the woods. So 2 of my daughters and I went and did that last night. It was quite cold. So Wicked, highly recommend. Highly, highly recommend. And then I would recommend the light thing, but it's done now. Last night was the last night. And when we went, it was cold enough to where they actually didn't have any of that, at the little stand with snacks and stuff when we got there. And that section is not in the main area. It's off to the side. It was, they were all out of cider. So, hi, Paul. See, from seeing Mariah Carey on Wednesday. Oh, you went to see Mariah Carey? Oh, nice. Oh, wait, am I reading? I'm sorry. I'm my eyeballs are tired today. I started teaching myself how to crochet, with videos and stuff, not You're going? You're from South Carolina. Oh, you're seeing Mariah Carey. I'm sorry this is taking me a minute to register my brain. I bet she's incredible. Um, did y'all see? I saw this. I haven't started reading yet. I was waiting on Tiffany if anybody wants a reading. Um, there was some announcement that Nick Cannon made that apparently he's suffering from a mental health crisis, which like not knocking on that at all, but it was like he has narcissistic personality disorder. First of all, like kudos to him for actually getting diagnosed for it, but I suspect he probably, and I don't want to be like an asshole about this, but since he has so many children with so many different women, I suspect that there might be a court case involved where he had to get a psychological evaluation. Call me crazy or skeptical, like that he would just like go get seen, but but it puts it into a different light with like Mariah Carey, because her first husband was like super older than her and I think pretty abusive, emotionally, not a nice man. And so like I remember there was a time where they tried to make her look like she was crazy, where she was like, oh, she was just all of this stuff. And maybe she's a bit eccentric, maybe, I don't know, but sure does paint a different light when your track record is with some not unhealthy men, that maybe she's not the crazy one. She's making cookies on YouTube. Oh, I'll have to look for that. I do appreciate how she's very straightforward when she does interviews. Like I think there's like a whole thing about J-Lo that apparently she was like, I don't know her or something. I don't know. So I think I have a feeling Tiffany thought that I was going on at 4 instead of 3. I moved it earlier in case anyone's wondering, because I have ice skating from 6 to 7 and I didn't want to be like rushing with y'all. I wanted to like be able to take my time, but whenever I do anything kind of weird like this, then it's usually quiet. She only has 2 kids with Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon has lots of babies with multiple women. There you are, Tiffany. I was just saying that I think maybe, I don't know, because I changed the time from 4 to 3. And then whenever I do like weird time changes, it usually is a little quieter. I mean, it's not like I'm having like 80 people show up or anything. It's usually a little small bunch of us, like a small gathering in our house. You were having technical issues. Well, as I would say, Mercury's in lemonade. I do find it fascinating to watch. Like when I think back and I look back and I see old interviews of like Barbara Walters, or I remember when I was a kid, Barbara Walters was like everything, like, oh, she's going to do all these celebrity interviews and like, you have to watch them. And I remember watching them and not like thinking much of them, like of the way. And then now I see them with the way she like interviewed like Britney Spears. It was just atrocious. It was just absolutely atrocious. And I know like there's this idea of like, get the hard questions, but like just the stuff that she asked was so disgusting. And like the more and more I think, but I'm like, she's kind of trash. Like just not a good person. All right, Miss Tiffany, what are your questions? Do you want to get started? I have been dealing with headaches lately, and I can't decide if it's because I'm trying to wean off the caffeine, because I started drinking a little bit of like I was having like a cup of coffee a day, and then I noticed in the last few days that I'm having a little bit more anxiety. That's why I stopped drinking coffee. So then I switched to tea, and I'm like weaning off into like decaf tea. I don't know. But I don't know if the headaches are from that or the whatever. I don't know why I'm telling all this. TMI. Sorry. Just trying to keep the conversation going. You will see the real play. I'm sorry. I'm just. Okay. So my mom has decided to offer to my brother to pay for his kids to do private school K through 12. The two of them are 2 and 7. That's expensive. He's taken advantage of her finances in the past. He's an opportunist. I'm concerned about her decision. What's his first name? And what's your mom's first name? I don't know if I told you all this. Did I tell you how here, hang on. Cahill? Is it Cahill? Cahill. Varetha. Penny. Do you want to know something really crazy? I just have to tell you the synchronicities on this. Cahill. Khalil. Oh, I missed the first L. See? Oh, shit. I should have brought my reading glasses down. Sorry. Khalil makes more sense than Cahill. Okay. That name I do know. But, like the whole world is full of different names, and you're going to run into new names, right? So it wouldn't be surprising. Okay. But Khalil, I know how to pronounce. Okay. All right. What I was going to say is what's interesting is I have a friend whose brother takes financial advantage of their mother, and my friend's mom's name is Penny. So I think that's interesting. Like that was immediately when you said that, that's immediately who I thought of. Okay. All right. So let's look at. Oh, what's interesting is, so I asked about it and it's like, well, they said, well, he doesn't exactly feel like he's taking advantage of her or manipulating her. He just feels like he's owed it and deserves it. Like there's no thought in his mind that he's not deserving of whatever he's asking. Because he's like, that's my mom. I can ask her for anything and she'll give it to me. But it's not out of manipulation. It's just feeling like he deserves it because of his existence as a child to your mother. I don't know what this is. If I don't feel like she'll end up paying all the way through. Part of it is because some of the schools he's pushing for are way more than she expected. And part of it is because I feel like, is the niece older? You have a niece that's older? Won't want to go to private school all the way through. She's the older one. Yeah. I feel like she won't want to end up going through like she might go through 8th grade, but I feel like by high school, she wants to be in public school or do something different. I'm only laughing because he named his child after himself. I mean, that's to me as a derivative of Khalil. And I'm like, oh, that fits. Not to knock the name because I think it's a beautiful name, but it fits. Like there's so many times when I see things now, I'm like, yeah, not surprising. I feel like she's actually more like you in many ways because she has, like, she just says what she thinks. It just comes out of her mouth, and she has no fear of, like, dressing him down in any way whatsoever. Hi, Regine. Listen, you have another question because when you paid for 2 last week and I wasn't on, you only asked me 1 when we did email, so I owe you a question. Um, so like, there's a part of me that really thinks your mom has no idea how expensive schools are. I also feel like part of the reason she won't end up doing private school all the way through is because I think there's gonna be a move where maybe the school district is better or it's, like, a better opportunity for school. And I know I'm saying all of this because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, that's, like, seems so different since they wanna, like, totally like, there's threats of tearing down the, education system and stuff." I don't know, I'm just seeing it that there's maybe that's not the case by the way I'm reading, I don't know. I just heard too, she's not in over her head, but I do think that she does, like, isn't considering, again, like, rates changing over the years and how expensive the schools are, and I also feel like, if she said, "I'm buying the 2 of you dinner, you can have wherever you want," you would be just like, "Oh, like, whatever, like, mid-level, nothing crazy, like, not McDonald's or anything," but you would pick, like, a, okay place, but, like, not out of pocket or anything, and I feel like he would, hands down, try to find the most expensive, like, niche restaurant possible and be like, "Okay, this is what I want." Like, and I think that she's surprised every time that happens. Like, she's always like, "Oh, oh, oh," and, like, she won't tell him. So, and she's literally surprised every time. Like, it shocks her every time, but she doesn't say anything about it. She doesn't have very good boundaries. So I feel like he will move. That's what. So, um I also think some of the reason why she doesn't have boundaries is she's afraid of how she'll look as a mother. There's a lot of stuff there for her around, like, um I feel like she has money, but there's also, like, didn't grow up with a lot of money and, like, made a good living, and so doesn't wanna look like she's cheap, and so she won't say anything when somebody said like, if your brother picks the, like, fancy schmancy niche restaurant versus just, like, mid-range place. Um, so there's a lot of, like, around her own self-concept and insecurities that she doesn't set the boundaries. Mhm. But also, she doesn't set that boundary. So, like, yes, it's not okay for him to do that, but the onus should also be on her to set the boundary. And, just because our parents are grown up and have lived a life doesn't always mean that they make wise or mature decisions. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. it's really hard when we are working on boundaries and working on our own shadow work, right? Our own stuff, that belief systems that are no longer serving our greater good, and trying to heal them and like reprogram ourselves. It's not just a like, oh, I did it, it's gone. Like I did the 6 months of like, and it's done. Like I have really done a lot of work around boundaries and advocating for myself, and um, not being a people pleaser. And um, I've had a couple situations. One was with the card. I'm just keeping it as a learning lesson. Was and like learning to ask for what I want and not say what I don't want, so that like I just say what I want, right? And that like goes along with manifesting, like asking the universe what I want. And I said to the guy, I was like, "Well, I just don't want a blue card." He brings out the blue, and I was like, "Motherfucker!" But it wasn't like the like a too terrible blue. It's darker blue, and it looked pretty. But then when it got under the light, there's a little bit of reflection, and I'm like, do I really like this? But like the paperwork has already started, and I didn't want to be a bother, and I didn't want to be like, wait. Um, and so I drove it home, and part of it is because it's a different color, and it's a little bit more, it's not the standard black, white, gray. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel like being different. And because my whole life I've been different and othered, and not in a good way. And so it's sort of like I don't want to stand out too much. And so like you're still learning lessons even as you've done the healing. It's like, oh, I see, like I still have some work to do. um and like so I'm like I could have, but then part of me is like, maybe there's a lesson here. I need to like keep this as a reminder. um Oh, that's interesting, Camel. I'll look at that a little bit later, okay? Because it's not a personal question. Just hang out here for a little bit. Because if you want a personal question, it's $12 with 30% going to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. And unlike the stores around you who ask you for extra money on top of the goods and services you're buying, I just take it from my service fee. I refuse to donate when stores are like, "Can you give $1 for?" I'm like, no, because I like they get so many tax breaks already. I refuse to donate at stores, and I feel zero guilt. If you ever want to donate, just go online. You can donate anywhere. You can just donate $5. Like it's so easy, and you get your own little receipt and your own little tax break, and you don't need to be giving corporations any more tax breaks. They get enough. Okay, try. She's putting her grandkids in the school because she wants them to, not for Khalil, but it's still enabling regardless. And that's her right. She has a right to pay for it. I think part of that is in like, why is it triggering you? Maybe look into that, because that might be really helpful for you to like, how does it feel? Do you feel like she does for him and not for you? There's a lot of stuff you could unpack there. Yeah. So like manifesting, I always say like what I want and how, but I want to be like more specific and not like so open and scared about it. And then never, ever, ever say, oh, I just don't want this. I'll take anything but that, because you'll end up getting what you don't want. It's also a reflection of that guy. Because like if someone told you not to do something and they just went ahead and did it, he clearly has issues too. It was the manager. It wasn't the guy who I was working with. Right. But so it's hard to watch him use her, but at the same time, she's allowing it. I mean, I watched my sisters use my mom for years. Like would only be nice to her if they were asking her for money. I mean, they were just kind of crappy to her, and it's not like she was a school teacher, not like wealthy by any means. Just always very good with money, but my mom had to set that boundary, and it took a lot, but she finally did. If she were ever need some significant healthcare or homemade in the future, he wouldn't even help. I'm sure he wouldn't. And that's something you can address. I'm sure he would say, of course I would, but I mean, part of me feels like there's going to come a time within the next 5 years where you and she are going to have this conversation. And she's going to start waking up over the next 5 years. But again, she really, she won't stop paying for school, but she will have a good look at her relationship with him. She will be okay financially. I actually feel like she has set this side of money for her grandkids. Like this is separate from what she set aside for her own well-being. So I do feel like she'll be okay. So I'll leave it at that because she literally feel like has been saving for her grandkids, not like before they were ever even an idea in the world. Because she really does want to have that idea of, generational wealth and the idea of like not having her family be start from behind. Like that's very important to her. Okay, what's your second question? Not that we're, I've only got you and Regine anyway, and then Camel. It's an interesting name, Camel. Oh, wait, just, yeah. Oh, no, Regine, why did you pay for another question? Dear. So I started doing this weird thing because, well, I'm a weirdo. I guess on TikTok and I probably on all platforms, they think you're a bot if you'll only comment like little emojis and things like that. And so it actually affects your traffic for your channel. So I've been writing out emojis like hearty face emoji because I'm dumb. But I'm like, well, I like emojis, but like apparently, and I do have like sort of a bot habit of like I'll like things too quickly, like the way they tell you like you look like a bot. Like and I'll listen to people and I kind of scroll past and um I don't have a patience for a lot of stuff. Which is like really kind of odd because I am so wordy. Oof. So but so now I've been writing it. It's like shit eating grin emoji. Um leave it to me. Okay. IVF got paused because I ended up getting DVT. Oh, goodness. Oh my. What the hell did they use to start your IV? Or did it did your vein blow? Is that what happened? Which is just IVF journey continuing next year. Yes, immediately yes. Genuinely that feels like a freak kind of accident. You have tiny veins and they typically struggle to get the vein. Hints and tips and hints. I feel like I'll tell you this. So I got a 22 gauge in somebody's foot who is diabetic. That's big. But and I was like, look what I did. All the nurses were like, oh my God, they were more senior than me. They're like, holy shit. Okay. So I realize that you're supposed to be NPO for surgery, but I wonder if there could be a plan to stretch the liquids out a little bit longer so you're not quite so dehydrated because that sets you up for failure immediately. Also, do they hot pack your arm and have you hang it below your heart before they start an IV? I'm just thinking of ideas. That's it. I know. They don't do that. They just like stick you in a cold, because like, are they starting your IV before you're in the OR, or like, these are things that I would honestly, especially given your history, like write this down as a, like, when you go to your doctor, be like, okay, so we need to come up with a plan, because we know I have crappy veins, I have small veins, and I'm a really hard stick. So then if I'm dehydrated on top of it from being NPO for a surgery, that sets me up for even more problems. And we want to give me the best shot so I don't have a DVT from a mess up again. So what's our plan? Can I perhaps be NPO less amount of time, just water to keep me a little bit more hydrated, or like maybe some clear Pedialyte, because that's easy to digest, easy to process. Can we hot pack my arm and let it hang down to like give me like create a plan and have him then like make that a part of your surgery plan or whatever plan you have. Same thing, like if you're going to go in for treatments, you want to be super hydrated before you go in. If they're asking to dehydrate you, say, okay, then what's the plan? What are we doing? Like, be very proactive and advocate for yourself in this, because they're not going to think about it. And if they're cocky and they're like, oh, we can get anything, just be like, nope, this is my history. This is why I'm asking. And that is not an answer for me. So what's your plan? Who's on your IV team? Like be like, you need like literally the best of the best. You have to get so many blood draws. So then if I were you, you could even proactively get like a little warming pack and put it on where, on your here. I forget the name of that. Inner aspect of your elbow, but that's not their actual word. And do not let them use like lidocaine on it. If you're like, ow, it hurts a lot, don't let them put lidocaine cream on it, because that could actually contract your veins. And so it'd make it even harder for you. So warm packs, and make sure you're super hydrated. And don't I would drink like a Pedialyte or something with electrolytes in it. And the other thing you can do too, it's actually, if you're just getting blood draws and it, like, you're not, walk around a little bit, get your heart rate up a little bit, because it'll pump more blood. Or think about when you're like, when you donate blood, if you ever donate blood, they have you like, sorry, looking for the camera. They have you like do this to pump your fist and drop your arm down lower, because it brings blood flow and it pumps up your veins. But yeah, I do feel like it. August is coming to mind as being important. I don't think that's as late as you start, but maybe that's August. Maybe that's the embryo when the embryo transfer happens. Are you going to a doctor in Connecticut? That doesn't make any sense. But is there something about Connecticut that makes sense with this? Hi, Gabrielle. How are you? Okay, well, tuck that. Maybe your doctor's from Connecticut. Who knows? There's a connection there for some reason. So I don't know what the Connecticut connection is. Okay, so Regine, what's your question? Okay, what do your guides want you to know? So they're showing me you having a really hard time. I think August for the transfer. I think that's why that picked up for me. So I know it's a little bit ways out. I don't think it's because I actually feel like there's a weird paperwork holdup or something like that. Like, it doesn't feel like your body's not ready, or there's not, it actually feels like there's some delay in starting it, and not because of, but like some paperwork issue. So I don't know if it has to do with insurance or what, but it's like there's a paperwork issue that comes up that creates the delay. But I don't feel like it's like you're doing 85 rounds of it trying to get them. It just feels like an interesting delay. Okay. I was shown you having a really hard day or two, and sort of like, I'm sorry if this is a little vulnerable, crying and asking for help. Like, why are you going through this? Why you're dealing with all this stuff? And I'm not getting a clear on that, but they're reassuring you that they're here. You're very welcome, Tiffany. Thank you for trusting me again. Does that resonate when I say that to you? Regine? Absolutely. Okay. So they're wanting you to know that like they're hearing you, they are here. They are here, they are helping, they are working on it. Please do not feel in despair and distraught. So I'm hearing things are going to be okay. It feels bumpy for you for about 3 weeks. And then everything smooths out. Did something happen with your job? And I hate asking it as a question, but I don't like, it's like a feeling of like, maybe he'll let you go or something happened, but I feel like he's going to come back around and ask you back. That's the feeling I get. I don't know if that's what's going on. You want to leave, but he wants you to stay. Okay. Didn't I tell you that he's like really needs you? Okay. So that maybe that's where like the 3 weeks of bumpiness is coming from. I actually feel like you're going to stay a little bit longer. So when it's time for you to leave, it won't be done out of haste. It'll be like it will literally be very smooth transition to like, oh, I have this business now. It's going really well and I just want to focus on that full time. Like you'll have stuff coming in. I also feel like this is the time for you to be really looking into the laundromats, or if you're still doing that, like this is the time to start looking. Sorry, I'm putting boundaries and it's difficult because I love him as my brother and it's hard. For sure. Boundaries are hard, right? And they're hard because they're really hard with the people who really need them. Because they don't want them. They're benefiting from you not having any boundaries. My eyes look so dark. Let me see. Let me do this and see if that changes a little bit. Darker. It's this light overhead. I guess that's better. Okay. So you're working on grants right now. Okay. Cause like, it's like, this is the time. So I would say within maybe this time next year, you're going to really start like looking at ready to launch out onto your own. Meaning it doesn't mean that that's when you start with the business. It feels like, okay, I'm seeing money come in and it's like, I'm doing well now. And I feel like this is my time to kind of launch. And I feel like that's where a year from now is when you start to really make that plan. I don't necessarily feel like you'll leave a year from now, but it's like, that's where the real all right, this is decision time. It won't be long after that, but it'll be about a year before you're really ready to launch. And if it's less than then, yay, but that's about the timing I'm getting. Sorry. You're going to be in New York in December? Nice. That's now. What are you going to do in the city? I should tell you, somebody I know owns this store in Soho called India and Puri, but she has a little pop-up in the holiday markets. One's in Union Square and one's in Grand Central. So you should stop by because her stuff is really cute. I don't know the price of anything. I told her I was going to try and get over there this holiday season because I wanted to be able to support her. But it's really pretty. She designs it all, paints it all, and then turns it into prints and fabrics and stuff like that. So very beautiful. It's our anniversary! Yay! Happy anniversary, Regine. How many years are we together now? Holy crap, 6 years? Oh, that warms my heart. That means that you stuck by me for 6 years. Look at you. We're going to be old friends before we know it. Well, I thank you for 6 years of you trusting me. So thank you. I appreciate you too. If nobody was here supporting me, I wouldn't be here. So thank you for always showing up and being so supportive and kind. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll check. XOXO. Okay. Let me just read your question in the email because it's easier that way. It doesn't show me all in the app, which is annoying. It shows me online. Okay. Do you mind if I say his name on here, XOXO? Also, Regine, if you want to do another question, because remember you paid for 2 last week and you only asked 1 online. Okay. Okay. Future notice. When you ask me a question, don't give me so many details. And I say that because I want to be able to give you evidence that I'm connecting. And so sometimes then I question, I'm like, because I know more. Don't apologize. I'm just saying future notice. I don't like to know much. That's why I think like Regine, when she asks questions, they're very open-ended. But so like you can just ask the guy's name and what he thinks of you. And then I'll see. Sometimes I'm wrong. But I know how much people question the legitimacy of doing readings. And so and I'm a skeptic myself. So it's really important for me to like keep it as clean as I can and not have the muddy waters, so to speak. Okay. Richard, only making me giggle because my girlfriend's in college. that like were in the dorm across the hall from me. They had a cactus, and his name was Richard. Emphasis on the hard. Stupid girl things. Okay, sorry. So now, like, whenever I say that, sorry. Okay, let's see. I am suspecting that you are a very straightforward person, very direct in your communication. And I say that because your guides are very straightforward and direct. They aren't fond of Richard. I feel like they're making me feel like Richard is a bit of, I don't want to say chauvinist, but like that's the feeling I get. I feel like there's an age gap with the two of you. And I also feel like he has an air of superiority because of it. Like, I feel like it's like, there's, I don't want to say he's directly condescending, but there's just this energy of him thinking somehow he's smarter or wiser or knows better because he's older than you. He has more experience in life. And your guys are like, yeah, that's not the case. I feel like he's emotionally stunted. And I say that because that's what your guide said. So do not shoot the messenger. By the way, I tend to be very direct in my readings. I do not sugarcoat. And a lot of that is just because I don't think it's beneficial to anybody to not just be as direct as possible when you're communicating things like this. There is nothing wrong with you. Like nothing. And I feel like this is a blessing in disguise. Like it's such a feeling of just walk and count your blessings that this is like how he's behaving. Because if you're going to have a mature relationship, if somebody doesn't respond in a timely manner, you have a conversation about it, explaining like, hey, that kind of bothered me and hurt my feelings when you did that. Would you be willing to like in the future just be, more responsive or just have communication about it? But to just ignore somebody or distance yourself, that's a red flag, baby. I feel like there's kind of a big age gap here. I also feel like you went into this relationship feeling very confident and secure of yourself and so it's bothering you more that you're feeling a little insecure about it than it should, right? And I feel like just some of his behaviors have created that sense of, because it feels very like give and take. Like he gives you stuff and then he takes it away. Gives you and takes away. Not physical things, but like emotional connection. You were suddenly quiet. We just met not long ago and he just did what he did. I've tried to explain why I haven't gotten to him sooner and he hasn't opened the message. So listen to me when I say that's a red flag. This is a gift that you saw exactly who he is very early on. Take it as a win and walk away. Because you can't have a relationship with somebody who's not open to communication. Like you cannot have a relationship if there's no communication. And that kind of communication of like, I'm just not opening it. I'm not going to like, nah. And that's not on you. That's on him. Like there are going to be times when you cannot respond in the time that he feels is acceptable. If he's a grown up, then he's open to understanding that. Like I text friends all the time and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry it took so long." I'm like, whatever. Like, we're busy. Life is busy. Shit comes up. I still love you. I mean, Jesus, my husband never responds to any of my text messages. Still married. I left my garage door opener, I guess, in the car. Like I had thought I grabbed it out and then I thought I put it on the desk there. I don't know, whatever. And they have my husband's number and I'm always like, you need to put my number in because he never answers the phone. Like you are like, forget it. And it's not just me. He just does not answer his phone. And he was like, oh, he's like, well, I tried to call. And I was like, called the wrong person. Like, you're not going to commit. Right. I mean, I don't want to, it's like, it's a feeling of like, this shouldn't have happened so early. And I don't want to be like, I just get the feeling like big age gap and a sense of superiority on his part. And that doesn't make for a good match. Like I'm all for age gaps if there's not that weird imbalance, but I genuinely, and your guides are like, take it as a win. Like they called him sounds like Dido, but put an L in there. Like they were not very nice. They didn't have nice things to say about him. Hi, Rathka. I did start earlier today because so here's the deal. I get myself into things not thinking because I just want to try things. So I just want to try ice skating. So I was like, okay, I'll go join the Wednesday night thing with the ladies. And it's like, they're like a good synchro team. Like I am very beginner and they're like ladies who have been skating for a long time. But they're nice. And so they have like a coach there and there's another woman and we basically get private lessons while we're doing it. And so our coach, Patrick, was like, oh, we're going to be in an exhibition on December 14th. And I was like, wait, what? He's like, you want to do it? And I was like, I guess. So I will look like a toddler recital because it's like whatever. So we're doing a little thing. And so they have ice time tonight for their dress rehearsal. And they're like, if you want to come, we can see if Patrick can come and you can have you can have ice time. But that's 6 to 7. And so I have to get there a little bit early to get on my skates and be like ready to go when the Zamboni's done and we can get on the ice. And so to take it full advantage. And plus it's like so nice to skate when there's like not like public skates are so different. Like it's like literally like skating on gravel compared to like when it's nice and smooth. And anyway, so I love to take advantage of these times. So anyway, so it's from 6 to 7. This is not a normal thing. And I just wanted to start a little bit early instead of at 4 because I wanted to not rush through this. You sent PayPal? Okay, great. Got it. Do you just want a so my thoughts are okay. So hang on. I don't think I gave you we're 6 years apart and he's the older one acting like this. Yes. Okay. I'm going to break this down into like this one. We live in a patriarchal society and it does harm to everybody. It does harm to women because it automatically pushes us down and oppresses us. It does harm to men because it doesn't force them to have emotional development. And when you are emotionally stunted, you can't have a real, full, beautiful, evolved, grown-up relationship. You have a toddler relationship where you behave like a toddler, where they didn't respond the way I wanted to them in the right time and they didn't do what I wanted them to do. So I'm angry. And so age isn't a factor in that. That is a matter of then like realizing that you have emotional stunting mostly because of patriarchy and then also because of familial crap that gets passed down. And, patriarchy and the whole bill that says like, oh, you don't have to grow up because this is the way it's supposed to be. And so Yeah, doesn't matter if he's older. Yes, the original question. Sorry. So I feel like it's more of a like a punishment. He's somebody who's vindictive and just is punishing you. It's not like a it it's literally like retribution for you not responding when he thought you should. It's a very toddler-esque behavior. Like, I don't get a feeling like, "Oh, he's actually in the hospital, like, you should give him a, a pass on this one." Like, I literally just get, "Fuck her, I'll show her." Sorry for my French, my English, if you will. Shouldn't blame the French. So it's more of that kind of behavior. Um, and I actually feel like he'll come back around and try and get your interest, but I just feel like you need to like stick that in your bonnet and remember, like, um, yeah, like that's kind of more of a like a love bombing energy. And I'm just telling you, like, much better to be single than to be in a relationship with somebody like that for the rest of your life. Like, don't pursue that. Moving on to drink number 2. So I mean, I know that's not what you want to hear. Maybe some other readers would be like, "Oh my God, he totally loves you." Like, but I just think that's like vomit to do that to people. Um, when it's like not like when it's somebody who's like I said, your guides had nice choice words for him. Um, and I think here's the thing. I think that if you were talking to a friend and they came to you and said this kind of stuff, you would probably say that like, "Oh, he's being a dick. Like he's not like fuck that." Um, oops, hold on. Did you put a question in the payment, Gabby? Some guidance from your guides. Do you want me to like look at a specific area for you? You're very welcome. Come back anytime. We're here mostly every Sunday. um so Gabby, do you want to talk about like any specific area or just straight general reading? I'm just randomly writing. Um the first thing I wrote down is your anxiety is really bad today. I actually almost feel like this is my left side, like a little bit of chest pain there. It's not your heart though. I actually feel like it's a gas bubble that's like poked up because your stomach, diaphragm, and the gas is pushing up. But I feel like the anxiety is making me like worry about that. Does any of this resonate? There's a tension headache today. I'm going to give you more than this. I'm just randomly kind of connecting with your energy. Where'd you go? Gabrielle. Gabrielle. Or as they would say in Spanish, Gabriela. Or Gabi. Honestly, whatever comes through is totally fine. Okay. I think we're a little bit behind. Can you do me a favor? And there's a scrolly bar on the bottom of your screen. Drag it all the way to your right. Because that'll pull you over. You did start your cycle. I'm just it's throwing you off. Is that what's causing the anxiety, do you think? Absolutely. And I ate something spicy, which is not okay. Okay. So I feel like it's not your heart. Let's let that go. I actually feel like you should be taking an antihistamine instead of like a Tums. So just take like like a kid's 12.5 milligram antihistamine, I think will help you. I see. Oh, here, right. You know what? I know why it's not showing because I have a stupid setting here. Okay. Well, it was showing top chat, live chat, same thing. Okay. I think it's because you're not dragged out all the way to the right. Okay. I'm going to say it this way. I feel like there's going to be a little snafu towards the end of the week this week. But I also feel like saying it's going to be okay. So maybe initially in the moment, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is going to create so many problems, but it doesn't. It's just a this and done. I can see your comments now. So my feeling is that, like, to me, it looks like a trip and a fall. So it's like this minor accident, but a feeling of like initially in the moment or in the day that it happens, of feeling like this couldn't get any worse. Everything is so terrible. Like, of course, these terrible things would happen. And they're just saying, like, this is just but a moment. So, like, move yourself through it. Remind yourself, like, Annalisa said this was going to happen. It's not a big deal. Like, don't go to an ultimate fatalist thought process around it. I understand, given that everything that you've gone through, right, that it's hard when something then goes wrong, like when you've been dealing with hit after hit after hit, and then something happens. Again, it feels like a minor snafu, like a trip and fall. Like, it does not feel like this major, but it feels like in the moment, I go to this fatalist thought process, this like everything is terrible, nothing's going to get better, a lot like this ultimate terrible thing. And I don't want to say like you play the victim, because it's not that. It's just sometimes our mind goes that way when you feel like everything's like it's just one after another. They're saying in this moment, if you can get a hold of yourself and remind yourself, this is but a moment, and I'll move through it, and everything's going to be okay. And this is just, things happen, bumps in the road happen, or go to the, like, this is just a bridge of incidents to my ultimate healing, or a bridge of incidents to the good things coming. It helps shift the energy around it, because what they're really wanting you to do right now is shift energy and move it, not from being toxically positive, because that's not it at all. Because like when you're toxically positive, then you're afraid to recognize any of the bad stuff. I recognize the bad stuff all the time. And then I'll say like, yeah, that sucks. And this is just a bridge of incidents. Like, yeah, I like signed a lease on a car in a color that I was not sure of. And I emphatically said to the guy, I don't want that color. And then he brought it out and it was like darker in the dark. So it looked nice. And then in the light, under the light, when I was like transferring the car, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. Now I could sit there and be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Or I can find the light in it. Oh, well, I just meant that I was supposed to be reminded that it's okay for me to sparkle a little bit more and be a little bit different and own my differences instead of feeling like I'm just that other person who's weird and different, which I've been my whole life, by the way. Um, I don't know that. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. This is like the fatalist. I don't feel like it's anything big, but I feel like they're wanting you to say, like, in that moment when it happens, not to go to those spaces because you end up drawing that stuff in unintentionally. So it's this idea of like, they're saying, like, when these little things pop up, instead of going, it's another thing. Oh my God, it's never ending. Because then what you're manifesting is never ending. And they're sort of saying, hi, McKeegan, good to see you. Yes, we had a nice Thanksgiving. I'll answer that in a minute. So what they're saying, Gabby, is in these moments, instead of going to the like, oh shit, it never stops, to like, this is just a bridge of incidents, to the like, because you get to place meaning on everything that you're doing, quite literally. And so I can decide that, like, this horrible thing that I just let somebody take advantage of me again and I didn't speak up and I'm a people pleaser, I can go, oh, that might be where I need a little bit of work again. Okay, no problem. And I'm going to keep this as a reminder instead of feeling bad and like uncomfortable with it, keep it as a reminder and be like, it's okay to sparkle and shine, right? So like, you get to put whatever meaning you want on anything. So it's more a feeling of, it's this minor snafu, but in the moment they're saying, they're wanting to remind you of like where your thoughts go is really important. And like, also, I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that you've been through a lot, because that's like, but it's like they're trying to pull you out of that cycle. And our thoughts are really important and they create a reality. And it doesn't mean you can never have a bad thought or a negative thought or like a fatalistic thought, but it's like, can you catch yourself and be like, okay. So like, my daughter always panics when she doesn't feel well. One of them, I have three. And it's like, oh my God, like, like if she starts to feel one way, then she starts to have a panic attack. And she's like, what if I throw up? I'm like, but you're not a thrower upper. So like, that's not going to happen. She doesn't throw up. I'm like, that's not you. Like, she's not my kid that throws up. I'm like, so I'm not like, that's not you. Like, that's not going to happen. And then she's like, and what if I'm up all night? And I'm like, well, what if you remind yourself that when you're really, really tired, you start to feel weird. Like my body feels weird when I'm really tired, like extreme exhaustion. She was up late doing homework. I was like, what if you just keep reminding yourself, like, this is okay. This is how my body feels when I'm really, really tired. And so I'm just going to remind my body that it's okay. Cause like her brain was like going off into like, ah. So it's like not acknowledging things, but it's also like looking at like, can you look at it and be like, well, okay, this is just a part of it. And like talk yourself off of it. Everything is perception. So she could easily go, oh my God, my body feels terrible. And now I'm going to be up all night and all these things. Or she could go, well, no, this is like how my body feels when I'm really tired. You're very welcome. Okay. So my Thanksgiving was good. We went to see Wicked in the morning and then came home and I cooked and like I forgot a side to make for my daughter. Turned out she didn't like, I didn't want to make homemade mac and cheese. So I just like bought something to warm up for her. It was like not good because I can't eat it. So I can't taste it. So I was like, sorry. But the dinner was nice. It was fine. Yeah. You're very welcome. It was a nice day. And then got a new car, went and saw the lights at the Botanical Garden in New York City, which the Nightmare Before Christmas lights. It was very pretty. So let's manifest differently. Like, oh, I only work, instead of like, sometimes when you're a chronic anythinger, it's so hard to go from chronic all of this over here to like being like totally opposite. Like our brain goes into complete chaos and is like, fuck you. Like, this is my regular. I want to keep doing this. So like when I was chronically exhausted, like, I mean, like extreme exhaustion, felt like I was drugged. It was really hard for me to wake up in the morning and be like, I'm totally awake and alert, going from like, instead of saying I'm totally exhausted and all I want to do is just sleep, to like, I'm totally awake and alert. So I just went, I'm ready for the day, because I could buy into that. So if you can just go into like, instead of being like, I'm a chronic worrier, to like, yeah, I worry a lot. And then to like, yeah, I worry sometimes, to like I barely worry. Like baby step your way away from that I am to create a different reality. And then like try in the moment. I know it's hard to like go into that space of like remind yourself, oh wait, this is how I feel when I eat X, Y, and Z. This is how, because I really pay attention to my body the way that way. And I'm like, oh, why am I like, it's a trying to figure out and suss it out. Oh, I feel that way because when this and this happens. So instead of being like, oh my God, right? Like every time I have a massive headache, then I'm like, maybe I have COVID again. Like I just go, oh, what time of the month is it? What did I eat? What have I taken out of my diet? Like I try and break it down a little bit. So it's like, I'm not aware that this negative thing is occurring. I'm just trying not to like fuel it. Okay, Camel, I see you. And then you can write your next question if you want. XOXO. I see that you paid for another one. Okay. Oh, XRP. Good. Thank you for giving me a specific one. So this is what's interesting is I do see some going up. There's going to be a couple of them that totally fucking tank. And I don't think they're bigger ones. So I want to say that. Like, I feel like XRP is bigger. I feel like Bitcoin is bigger. Even Doge now, like that. If anybody bought those were like millions of a penny. And now they're like 40 cents. So that's like whoever bought it millions of a penny, good for them. So to me, it feels like going up incrementally, like a stair stepping, like this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, this. I don't feel like a giant jump. So this goes into like, I hate reading on politics because, well, look, I was totally wrong on I don't know, whatever. Trump, you're very welcome. You're always so sweet and gracious. Thank you, Gabrielle. And Elonia, the first lady. Sorry if anybody is a Trump fan. I just think it's funny, the memes of Elon Musk. I feel like their plans are just going to like, it literally feels like a rocket going up and then coming straight down. Like there's this attempt and then fail. So I don't think their idea of what they want to do is going to be as successful as they hope. And yes, I do have Trump followers as clients, and one of them was very nice to send me an email and, you know, be a little snarky. Maybe she didn't think she was being snarky, but energetically it felt very icky. So maybe she won't come back to me again. And I would be okay with that. Not everybody's a good fit for a client, and not everybody's a good fit for a reader. Okay, why is R eyeing my social here and there? All the ways of somebody who has, I'm not saying he has NPD, but I'm saying he has a lot of character traits of someone who does. And so it's this idea of like keeping an eye on you and monitoring. It's a way of controlling you. He knows you can see it. So it's just a way of controlling and trying to like pique your interest. It's all like mind games and manipulation. Eek, indeed. Oh, so I was going to say, so I feel like there's this attempt to make everything go into crypto, and I just don't think it's going to happen. That's not my feeling now. We all know I can be wrong because human. I mean, but that's just what I saw. Like it just feels like I feel like they're also like there's just a lot of really big egos right now. And it's not to say like, oh, just laugh at them because they'll never do anything bad. Because I feel like that's, what happened with that one. Where people didn't take it seriously and thought it was a big joke. So hang on. I hope that was helpful, Camel. Wait, why did you pick the name Camel? I'm curious. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just curious. Hi, Julia. Good to see you. The Long Island, is that architect guy who ended up being? What I think is crazy about that whole thing is like how Howard Stern was like, oh, this guy's probably going to end up being like an architect who works in Manhattan and he does these things when his wife is out of town, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's literally what it was. Is that the one? The Gilgo Beach murders? Yeah. I haven't seen that. I try not to watch a lot of like creepy stuff. So I'm watching The Gilded Age right now. I'm on the second season. I'm excited for the third season because I know my friend John's costume shop made a few of the costumes for that show. And so I'm excited to like see his work. Or they built them. So that's what I'm watching. And I'm learning how to crochet. All the good things in life. Oh, The Holiday is really good. I like that one. It's an oldie but a goodie. I saw Hugh Grant doing an interview, and it just always cracks me up at like he's so crabby. He's just such a like he's just and it's like I suppose it's endearing for his own. It might get tiring if you're around it all the time, but he's just like this crotchety old man and he owns it and it's really funny. But like adores his kids. Like there was something he was talking about like that he really he's like I just really love when I go home and they like jump all over me and it's very sweet and like it was nice because like he's just like crotchety and like whatever, but he's not in The Holiday. I just thought of him. I don't know why. He's not in The Holiday. That's other people. Why did I think of him? But I like The Holiday and Jack Black, and that is very cute. Yes, Love Actually. That's the one. And also Notting Hill. Nothing like a good old rom-com. I watched them all the time before, and then I stopped watching them, and now I'm back to watching them, even though like nobody is like falls in love, has a big trauma or whatever, and then it's like it's been 3 days. And like, and now we're getting married. I like the quirkiness of like the English type films and actors and all of that. All right. Any other questions? How are y'all doing? XOXO had another question. Oh wait, you did ask your other question. It is December after all, indeed. Although I'll watch those movies any time of year. And what I was really shocked about was that my mom really likes The Holiday. I was like, "Do you wanna watch those?" She's like, "Yes, I'd love it." Yes, Regine, ask a question. You I still owe you one. Oh, what does my spirit guide want me to know about this connection with R? Okay. To know in regards to him. Where do you see me traveling next year? Oh, I quite literally heard Barbados. Uh, Interesting. Do you plan on going to Barbados? Like that came so quickly. XOXO, my sense is that it's really more about you learning about your own boundaries and your own sense of self and seeing things um, rather than looking at it like it's like this. It feels like moving from this like, and I don't think you're very like young into whatever, but it's like this younger mindset that you had of really very much being a people pleaser and like, oh, there must be like, and feeling like so rejected, like there must be something wrong with me if they're acting this way, instead of like looking at like, well, maybe this isn't about me. It's a really like kind of a maturing experience for you. Hang on, I want to look. I think um I'm leaning more towards the Senegal for you over Italy or France. Keep Barbados in your bonnet. That might be there too. I don't think it's something wrong with me. I just felt as though their feelings were hurt and I was just trying to be understanding. Yeah, but that's still a very like a kind of a people pleasery way of doing it rather than being like, yeah, like I didn't do anything wrong. And like it feels like just looking at it a little differently rather than trying to like hold and coddle and take care of somebody else's emotions, which when we're people pleasers, we do that, right? And just look at it like really go, I didn't do anything wrong. And I can't really like, if someone's not open to communication, that says a lot about them as a grown up and I'm like a healthy relationship person. And it says, like, you cannot hold space for people like that and worry about things like that. They're not even open to communication. You're welcome, Regine. You're welcome, XOXO. All right. If anybody wants any general questions at all, otherwise, I'm going to say goodbye. Hang on, I just want to see something. Anyone? Good night, Julia. Sweet dreams. Happy December 1st. I sent out little things and I said you could take cinnamon and blow it in your doorway because it's not only good for abundance, it's good for protection. And you could take it a step further and clean your door on the inside and out with salt water. Again, to also like prep it for the cinnamon for the abundance and protection. If you wanted a little witchy tip. Connecting with the other side. First of all, I would say the biggest thing is there's a couple things I tell people to do. I want you to write down any experience you've had with your intuition, whether you listened to it or not, but how it came through, when it came through, what were you doing? What were you doing? One of my skating friends, she was wanting to know if because she wasn't supposed to be there and I was supposed to film for her. And I was like, okay, sure. So she's going to be there. So like ask those things to like figure out like all the stuff around the actual event, even if you didn't listen to it, and write those down. Start acknowledging that. When you start to get intuitive hits, and this is going to connect you to your guides and to connecting with the other side. So these are all steps to get there. When you get intuitive hits, whether you listen to it or not, just write it down. Write down how it came in, what you were doing. Again, the way we're doing is kind of important because you want to think about what's going to set me up to connect easier. Because maybe my idea that I have to sit down and meditate and light a candle and dim the lights and set the intention is what I have to do because that's what all these other people do. And it's like, no, because I can tell you, I get a lot of really clear hits from my guides when I'm like cleaning the house, doing laundry, taking a shower, like doing the mundane stuff that I'm not really thinking about while I'm doing it. And then my guides are like, oh, because my brain is sort of, and my body is sort of busy doing these other things. And then they just like dump stuff on me, or I just ask questions and start getting information. And yes, that's possible for everybody, whether or not you were born that way or not. I don't think that I was necessarily born gifted. I just think like I never had an experience of anybody telling me that what I was doing was wrong or what I was getting was wrong. And I never thought to question any of it. So you're going to write stuff down. When you get those hits, acknowledge it and be like, okay, cool. Thanks. I appreciate it. Can you clarify it? Can you validate it? Can you give me some more information on it? And then don't wait for it to be right in that second, because it's probably not going to be. It could be an hour later. It could be 2 days later, and be okay with that process. Because like the learning process takes more time. It just does, right? You may be able to learn how to ride a bike in a day, but you're not going to be able to learn how to like ride motocross in a day. And the idea that you think that just because this is like a natural thing that everybody has, and I'm saying that you do have this, but like we as humans get in that mode of like, well, I've been trying it for this long and it's not working. And so it's not possible. It's like, no, I'm not going to be the 17 or 18 or 20 year ice skater when I just started last year, and just be okay with that. I still don't always get things clearly. I don't know why. Just don't. Okay, so we're taking those 2 steps first. The other step you're going to do is work on what follows I am. When you build up your self-concept, you learn and that I trust myself. When you do all those things, then connecting with your guides, because I am a spark of the divine light. Hi, Independent 87. Nice to see you. Thank you for subbing. When you work on that, it actually deepens your connection to source. When I started working on that, I was very even as far along as I am, it ramped it up, because there becomes more of a trust, because it's like, no, I can trust myself. I don't need to necessarily always look outside of myself for validation. And so then when you're connecting with your guides or source or whatever, that becomes that much easier, because you have more confidence. And that was a surprise to me when I did that. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's coming through clearer and it's easier. And part of it is because I stopped doubting myself all the time, because I had a better sense of self, because I started really paying attention to what follows I am, and making sure that it was always only good, kind things. And it doesn't mean I don't recognize that I have faults. But it also means I don't need to shame myself and beat myself up for not being perfect. Right? I would start there. Make it a priority to just be aware of what follows I am, not to be perfect in what follows I am, just to be aware of it. And then when it feels like, ooh, would I say that to somebody else? Not so much. Okay, why do I think it's okay to say it? Where does that come from? What do I need to do with it? You're very welcome. I just think sometimes the idea of meditating to connect can be not helpful, because there's also a whole belief system about what meditation means, and it means something different to everybody. And there's always a lot of pressure too of what you think you're supposed to experience. And what I will tell you is that it's so much more subtle. You're going to see people be like, oh my God, Like, I've had some weird stuff happen. I'm not saying that, but like when you really get comfortable with it, it's like so super subtle and it's like not weird. And I feel like sometimes people like to make it this whole like thing and put pressure around it, just like anybody goes like, oh my God, I'm going for a hike. And I'm like, yeah, you're going for like a walk on a path in the woods. That's like, not too treacherous. So like, let's just call it a walk in the woods. like, like I think it's human nature to want to like amp it up. Oh, good. I'm really glad that that's helping them. So I have a meditation for meeting your guides on my YouTube. I'm not saying it's the best quality, but it is there if you want to use it. Um, yeah, I mean it does, but here's the problem is some people don't know how to quiet the mind. And so just to say to quiet the mind isn't always helpful. I have found also it's like this idea of like, well, what does that mean? So I tend to be really specific what it means to me. And so like a way to do that to kind of like combat that chatty mind is to like start with a process of like, recognizing when even when you didn't listen to it and you totally got it wrong and you had like, oh, I should have done that. How did it come in? Do like start paying attention to that stuff because it's when you do that, like then you start to perk up when, oh, like maybe I can trust this a little bit more. Cause like when I did it last time, I was cleaning the dishes and something came in and I didn't really listen to it. I just kind of like pushed it off as like, oh, whatever, it's just my brain. But like, oh, this time it did. Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm gonna make sure to like make a note of it. Like, hey, whatever your AI person is on your phone, depending on what brand you have. Can you take a note of this? Like, I just got this information while I was doing the dishes. You don't have to listen to it, but you can just start going, maybe this is the process for me. Just try it out. Like your process will grow, but you have to start somewhere. And it won't always be like when you're doing dishes, but like when I just allowed it to be like, well, maybe this is like the way I'm going to do it for now. And then like when it changes, go, oh, okay, it's changing. Like just be a little bit more okay with the process not being like the way somebody says it has to be. Right. And some people like to do guided meditations, but she was specifically asking in different ways because this is like if you have a neurodivergent brain or ADHD, sometimes that's hard to do those things. And I do recommend guided meditations, but these are what I'm recommending now. Um, so since you're new, I will introduce myself to you. I'm Annalisa. Nice to meet you. I've been doing readings professionally for 16 years, and I am a psychic medium. I do medical intuition and business guidance stuff, and kind of like a jack of all trades. You can talk to animals and people and all of that stuff that I've crossed over. And I'm also a spiritualist reverend in the Spiritualist Church of New York City. I teach psychic development, all of that stuff. So, and you can do private readings with me. And I'm going to be working on building a community and also some courses, but they will come out after February or mid-February. I said a different one, but then I got another thing that I should wait just a little bit longer. Don't know why, but that's what I'm doing. So I try to make things practical too, because sometimes when we put a lot of rules around the way things need to be done, or like, well, those are great tips and tricks and stuff, but sometimes our brains get stuck for some of us, not everybody, where it's like, oh, it has to be that way. So like, and then we get in the overwhelm of like, oh, well, okay. So if like going out in nature is really helpful, then like, oh, well, the weather sucks. And so like, I don't want to go out there now. So now I can't do what I wanted to do. Or so that's why I try to give people really practical ways of doing it so they can just then take that and fit it into their life. However, so like just being aware makes a big difference in your connection, just starting to pay attention to like how it came in. Like, so then it means you can connect in any way. And you build that connection that fits you rather than that fits a rule that works for somebody else. Okay, so if nobody else has any questions, I'm going to say good night. So are we all done with questions? You tell me where we're at. I definitely have to get off within the next 15 minutes for sure. So Pink heart emoji, pink heart emoji, pink heart emoji. Hands making a heart symbol. If you weren't here earlier, I was doing I was joking that because TikTok apparently doesn't like, the algorithm doesn't like if you just like put emojis for a thing. They want you to make words, so that it also like makes you not look like a bot. So then your stuff gets pushed out and better stuff gets pushed to you, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I'm just going to start writing out. And I've done this on people's where I just write out the emojis. Sure. Okie dokie. Yes, before you go to bed. That's usually, when you're quiet, when there's like less things. But for some people, that's not necessarily how it happens. So, but that is helpful. That's a nice tip. Okay, I'm going to say good night then. I hope you'll have a fabulous week. Rathika, great question. Regine, good night. Julia, XOXO. I think Lexi was here earlier. Camel was here. Independent 87. Who else was here? Tiffany was here. Mark. I think that's it. I don't know. Not too many, but it's still more than more than at my house right now. So I will see y'all next week. Have a wonderful week. Good night.